Hi, my name is Samson, and my first project this term is to work on thumbnails for text-ish file attachments for review board. As you can see at the start of the term, the thumbnails for text-based file attachment generally just get interpreted as binary or as a text file, in which case it would be displayed as false in the first file attachment. And here you can see file attachment for restructured text and file attachment for markdown files. And in contrast, here's a XML file attachment that does not have a corresponding MIME type 4, so it's displayed as text. And in the bottom left corner here, you'll see a JavaScript injection protection against somebody doing something malicious. So any JavaScript will be interpreted as plain text. So that's my first project. And moving swiftly through this, my second project to do integration for review UI for extensions as well as thumbnails. So here, this is the before picture that you're looking at now, where the XML files get interpreted as text files, and they don't have a review UI, so you can only add a comment to them. And the thumbnails get interpreted as plain text. And now if I was to turn on the extension, which I've prepared in advance, hoping that this works. And refresh the page. And voila, you'll see the thumbnails for the corresponding XML to MIME type kicking and get interpreted by pigments. So you see some coloring of the syntax here. And you see the add comment button gets turned into a review button, in which case you can click on it and it goes to the review UI for you. And this is all just through extensions, so not part of review board itself just yet. And moving on, the other thing I've done is for documentation, which you can read later on at your own leisure if you're interested. So one is on hooks, the other one is on review UI integration, which talks about the work I did for integrating review UI into review board through extensions. And lastly, and this is something that I've done after the term is over, which is Tina's idea at the start of the term, which is to add ship and ASCII art to review board. This is also done through an extension. And here I'll just show you a quick example. Press ship it, and hopefully this is gonna. Yes, great success. All right, and that's it from me.
So just a quick intro to the project that I worked on. I worked on ReviewBot. Several of you probably do know what ReviewBot is, what it does. For those of you who don't know, who maybe didn't work on it during the term, ReviewBot is an extension to ReviewBoard which performs static analysis on code that gets uploaded. So static analysis is in like, style checkers, code quality checkers, that kind of thing. So prior to my work on this, ReviewBot had one tool, which was PEP8 for Python code. So my first project was to add another static analysis tool, and this one would be for JavaScript, because JavaScript is a messy language and it helps to have a style checker. So the style checker that we were going to use was JSLint. So if you actually go to jslint.com, can everybody see jslint.com? Hopefully.
Yeah.
You can, this is a tool written by Douglas Crockford. You paste JavaScript code in there, and it'll show you all the errors with your code. Style errors, quality errors, that is, based on his code conventions. So what I wanted to do was take JSLint as a tool and then plug it into ReviewBot. So JSLint is written in JavaScript, so the work that I did actually requires a JavaScript engine to be installed on the review board server. So we're using SpiderMonkey for this, and I'm just gonna run. I think that's what I'll do. I'm gonna post something, and right now the way ReviewBot works is it'll run automatically when you publish a review request. So I've pre-populated a revision range here. I'll quickly start up. Should be posting review number 26. Hopefully won't agonize for too long here. All right. And it looks like somebody fixed the bug whereby you could publish a review without specifying a summary or reviewers. So it's going to force me to fill in that stuff. If this ends up lagging a bit, I'll just pop over to the pre-populated ones that I've got. Otherwise, so demo, it'll also need a description. We'll just add one measly person. All right. So if I publish this, the way ReviewBot works actually is it distributes the analysis tasks to worker threads. Right now, you're seeing the window that you're seeing right here. The command line is the worker itself running. It doesn't seem to have done anything. No, let me just publish that again. You should see it start going mad and starting to show that the static analysis is happening. There you go. So now you see it's running PEP8. PEP8 is only going to run on the Python files that were uploaded. It's afterwards going to run JSLint. And if I've configured it correctly, it's going to do all of that. It's doing PEP8. There you go, it's publishing. So what happens is, for every tool that you run, it publishes a new review. Right now it's doing JSLint, so it's going to publish 2 reviews against the review request that I just put up. You can configure your tools via the extensions panel. Here you see I've got the ReviewBot extension installed. If you check the database, I've got the 2 tools installed. In the future, we hope to have more tools. I believe that's the aim. For JavaScript alone, I was actually considering putting up a second one, which shouldn't be too hard. This is all running a bit slowly, so I won't make you watch the tool list. Another thing that I noticed when running this stuff, hopefully by now it's published the review. So if you refresh the review request, you'll see all of these lovely reviews that were published by ReviewBot. And what ReviewBot does is it'll basically just comment the lines where there were styling errors. Okay, I pre-populated some just in case it took forever. So, for example, if you take a look at this review request, I apologize for the lag, you guys. It doesn't normally take this long. Bit of a browser freeze. Nope. Well, you all know what comments and reviews look like, so you could just picture that for every style error, there we go. For every comment, for every line that's too long, you have a comment saying line too long. You can configure properties like how long you want your tool, how long your line should be allowed to be according to your tool. So that's what the whole static analysis process does, just to give you an idea. So my job was to add that JSLint tool in there. Another thing that we noticed basically while I was working on this is that if there were too many comments, it would take forever to load the page. So another thing that we added was a comment cap. So if you run any tool, you can specify a number of comments, like a maximum number of comments, and it'll give you this warning saying that you've exceeded your maximum and it'll only load as much as you allow, just to prevent it from lagging. And then the second major thing that I worked on was a way to trigger all this manually, because right now, as you saw, the way that the ReviewBot tool works is that it will publish automatically, it'll run automatically when you publish a review request. So if you wanted to be able to trigger that manually, there's currently no way to do that. So I added let me find a good, there we go. I added basically, it's a hook into the nav bar, which is a ReviewBot, so that whenever your review request has already been published, you could just manually pop a dialog that will run the tools. Right now, they have to actually be enabled to run manually for this to work. So, anticipating very little lag here, if I were to just enable at least one tool to review manually, you should see, let's go with JSLint. If I allow it to run manually, and I repop that dialog, you should see it added. There you go. So to do this, we basically added another resource to the API, which pulls down a list of installed tools. So there's a bunch of other stuff that have to be negotiated regarding permissions around this, and that's going to be an aim for after this semester for me to work on. I think that's about it.
So my project was to start the process of getting some automatic configuration for repositories that are created. One of the things you have to do when you create a new repository, if you want to be able to, say, like pull down stuff using an SSH key, or like eventually if you wanted to maybe push patches out, I imagine, you're going to have some way of authenticating your review board server with the various hosting services like GitHub and Bitbucket and any other ones that have APIs for that kind of thing. So I basically did it just for GitHub at the moment, but the sort of structures in place for getting it set up with other hosting services as well. So I'll just do a quick demo of what it would look like when you're adding a new repository. So right now you can see this is my GitHub review board fork, and there are no current deploy keys, and I don't have review board, my server, I guess, key in the list of user keys either. So when someone comes in to add a new repository, I actually killed my SSH key too, so you should be able to see if I switch over to GitHub, there's this option here to associate the SSH key with the hosting service. But since I don't have a key, I can't actually do that. So it provides a little help to go and add it. In the future, this would be really great if it was just a modal window of some kind that would not have to force the whole page to refresh afterwards. But for now, it's just a link. So that's all good. And now that I have an SSH key, I'll go ahead and add a repository. Already there. And we know it's for GitHub. We know it's a public plan, reboard. And I'm going to check it off to associate the key and save it. And there we go. So I got my new review board thing here. And if I switch over to my deploy keys, I should have my review board key in there. So now if I need to use it, need to do any kind of access via API that needs the key, it's all there for me. And that's pretty well it.
Okay, so basically I worked on some commands that help make your life a little bit better. One of them is called rbpatch. So basically, if you have a review here, let's say review 31, and you want to apply the patch so you can, test the code or maybe do some review. So instead of like having to download the diff and then, apply it and download it onto your hard drive and then apply it, you can just do it through the new set of tools. So an example here, I would just type in, rbpatch, and then the name of the review request ID, so 31, and I just have to specify that it's the local server. So I just hit enter, and you can see that it applied a patch to these files over here, and it figured out some kind of fancy, it's not really fancy, some logic to specify an argument, so you don't have to figure it out. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the commands. There are other commands too, like let's say rb close, and then like that. So, oh yeah, well I have to I'm not on the right branch, but you can imagine that there's other commands like closing or attach a file or publish and stuff like that. So that's about it.
Okay, so like the JSLint tool that was built, mine was to integrate BuildBot with ReviewBoard, so that when you post a review, it would essentially like try to build it, like run the tests or build a package or something like that, and then post the results back, so that you get some feedback and not just like the testing done field. Like you could actually have something. So this is what I worked on a lot. Like you can see the tool-specific settings are kind of complex, which I think relates to the BuildBot SI that was talked about a little bit earlier. So I have like a BuildBot running, and you can see like I have two different tests, one that always fails and one that always passes. And if I go into my code here, you can see that I have like modified some stuff, and then I have like some files that I've modified, and then I want to like make sure that the tests still pass with this. So I would do like a post review. That's not what I wanted. Come back. So like you can see this is the log from ReviewBot, and it's like executing tool, the try plugin, and then it's done. And so if we go to the review request now, you can see that it's just pasted the log right now. So like this one passed and this one failed, but then at the very least you can see like the build status of each one. It'd be really cool if you could like color these or something, but there's no support for that in Commons right now. And then like the status is reflected here in the waterfall thing, where you can see like these ones updated fine and then they patched fine. So yeah, that's what I worked on this semester.
So what I worked on was just a way to do image diffing. So this is the view before for image review UIs, where you could just see the single image. And what I ended up doing was being able to put the two images that you want to compare on the same page and comparing them through the different models that GitHub has. So I use that as basically inspiration for what I did. So there's the two-up view where you just see the two images beside each other. There's a swipe view where you can swipe across and see however much of each image you want.
Nice.
There's the onion view where it changes the opacity from one image to another, start fade in and fade out. And then there's a difference view, which is basically a difference blend, which is taking each RGB channel from each pixel and doing a difference and using that to generate a third image. So for this one, it was just the opacity that was changed for the background, so that's why it's only the white outline. For an image like this, where it's like a different resize, the difference blend ends up producing something like wonky like this. But yeah, that's basically what I did. And there's also an image change percentage, which is calculated sort of in the same way, where it takes every channel and does the difference and then compares it to the absolute amount that it could have changed. So that's pretty much what I did.
Can you show the other views with this image?
Yeah, so there's the two up beside each other, and it shows the dimensions, so you can see how it's changed. There's the swipe, and the smaller image is started in the bigger one, and same goes for any view. Ta!